Sadam by just going through. Obviously, you were born in Sudan, came over to England aged 18. You came over for the London Olympics. If you just want to kind of start off by giving us a bit of an insight into the start of your life in Sudan, just literally from an early age, and how you got into athletics. I know you love your football, so I think that was the way that you started off.
It was, yeah. I mean, obviously the life is completely different in Sudan and England. So I grew up in a small town called Umdurman. Is based, like, the town is in Khartoum. A city is very famous with footballers in Sudan, and I've always, wanted to be a footballer. So since I was younger, I've always followed like sports, especially football. And then at primary school, I used to play football, and I played for one of the best football academy in Sudan as well, called Al Hilal Academy. So, and yeah, and then when I went to secondary school, I still carry on with football, and then I had a school championship athletics. So they come to my school, and my teachers, they're asking for some people who actually can run, and I was just like, yeah, I can't run, can do that. So at that time, I was just like, okay, you for the school. It wasn't like a major thing. I train athletics, so I still play football. And I went for the championship, and I ran the 400 actually. Yeah, that's my first time ever I did athletics. Went there and they told me to do the 400.
Yeah.
And then I do that, and I came second in the 400 for my first time ever. And I was against quite people who athletes same age as me back then, and they're professional athletes. Not really professional, but they've been training for it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, my background coming from football, I was just naturally fast, like in the pitch on football and stuff. I run with them. I came second, representing my school, come second, and then we did the 4x4, and we win the 4x4 actually.
And how old were you at this stage?
At that age, it was like age of 15. So yeah, and then it was good, and then I was just like, okay, this is interesting. There's one coach saw me there who just like, oh, do you do athletics? I said, no, I play football. That's my first time actually at athletics. And he just like, oh, do you mind like come and train with us? And because the Sudanese school championship, that's where they like some coaches come and like find out talent, like the kids that got talent in athletics, and they invite them to come to the club and train, and help them through their athletics career or make them interested in athletics. So I had one coach. He asked me if I could join his his group and train with them, and I wasn't really interested, to be honest. So and I told him,
because of your love for football, were you just into that?
Yeah, because like I said, at the time I was playing for good football academy. So I wasn't really interested. So just like, no, I play for such academy, and I'm not really interested in doing athletics. And then I went home that day, and my big brother's wife, actually, she's the first lady to represent my country at the Olympic Games. Yeah, Sydney 2000 was it? Too lady to represent our country internationally in the Olympic Games. So I went home and I actually told her, oh, today we did athletics at the school. I told her I run the 400 and I came second. And then they told me I run like 51 second in the 400. She said, no, you didn't do that. I said to her, yes, I did. So, and I went inside to my room and I brought the medal. I said, hey, look, that's the medal. I came second, and I run. They told me I run 51, but I didn't even know what's 51 and what's is it fast time? 51 is quite good for someone in my age, to be honest. So, and then
no idea at that point. Did you not know? You were kind of just like naive at that point. You didn't know what was good and what was.
No, because I didn't really follow athletics. I know a little bit about athletics, because, like I said, my brother, she used to be an athlete. My brother's wife, she used to be an athlete, and I knew about athletics, but I didn't knew about what's the world record and how fast is this in the 400. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do
Yeah.
you
And
want to,
then
before we get into your like personal career and your journey like so far, do you want to just give a bit of background about your country that you've come from, Sudan, and what it's like to grow up there? Because I mean, for me, definitely, like I'm very interested in knowing what it was like there, because it must be so different to here, in the culture and in the weather, everything. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, definitely massive different. England, Sudan. Living in Sudan, I mean, not everybody can live there.
yeah,
Really, really tough. Um, Sudan is a country with a lot of talent, a lot of, let's say, people with, with dreams, and living there is tough in terms of education. You have to pay for your own education, even primary school, secondary school. You have to pay for own education. Well, your parents have to pay for education. So yeah, growing up there is the best childhood for me personally. I mean, like it's really tough going to school and you know, moving to city to a different city. It was like difficult.
and
I mean,
what was difficult about it? Was it the journey to school? Was it the like what was like specifically hard about school and stuff like that?
yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of yeah, traveling wise to school, I would say yeah, difficult-ish because I had to get two buses to get to my school. So, and then it was kind of far, and we have to go with some friends. They're older than me. I had to go with them. They go to the same school as me. Um, I mean, life in Sudan, like I said, completely different, and you have to be a really tough person to go through that. And I mean, today I'm grateful for like for the thing that I've learned in Sudan and my parents and where I've grew up. I've been learning a lot of things about life. Sometimes you can be younger than your age, but you learn things like earlier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You learn things before you reach that age, for example. So yeah, I mean, it's very beautiful country. I mean, very very hot country. I
Bet you missed that.
did actually,
Yeah,
especially in winter. I was
yeah.
like, oh, dance.
What kind of country is it in terms of like the landscape and stuff like that? Is it like kind of? I know you lived in the capital city, so that must have been quite a built up place. But
Yeah, it's very famous of farm and animals in terms of like lamb and cows and stuff.
mm,
Uh, Also, Sudan is very famous of for making cottons. You know the cottons.
yeah,
Yeah, cotton, and also we got petrol as well. We had petrol in Sudan, and obviously when we divide it to two countries, North Sudan, Sudan and South Sudan, and then the petrol is more to the south side. So Sudan is like very multiple culture country. I would say Sudan is like you can literally have it like as a mini world. We speak over 56 languages in one country.
really,
Yeah.
that's mad.
I don't know if you did know that or not.
No, I didn't know that at all. That's crazy. That is really mad. I mean, is that a
It,
world record? Do you reckon for?
I don't know much about other countries, but in Sudan we speak over 56 languages and we have maybe over 30 or 40 different cultures, completely different language, different way to dress and different dance. And but the main language in Sudan is Arabic. So, and I can guarantee now there's some people in the villages until this day they don't even know how to speak Arabic when that's the main language in the country.
That's crazy. Oh, I haven't really heard of any country like that, to be honest,
Yeah.
where there's that many different languages. Oh, that's pretty mad.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can literally be in one room and then you have maybe 7 different people with 7 different like background, culture, and it could be religion as well. Because Sudan is like country of Muslim and Christian religions. That's the only two religion in the country, Muslim or Christian.
Mm.
So yeah, different languages. The culture in Sudan, how it works, it works with the mountains. You know the mountains. So, for example, my culture is I come from the culture called Nubian. If you heard about them, so we have our own language, we have our own dance, we have our own. Even myself personally, I don't know how to speak our local language
Right.
because religion grew up. So if you don't really live there or born there, you don't speak the language. Only my mother and my father they speak the language.
Yeah.
For example, Sudan is like the most it used to be one of the most peaceful place in the world. Everybody knows everybody, and so people are very welcoming. I mean, yeah.
It's
So
yeah. Well, I was going to say there has been like wars as well, haven't there, in Sudan? So that's what I was going to ask you about. Just to give context of where
south
you've come
of
from.
Sudan, I mean, in terms of like kidnapping, drugs, and this type of criminals, we don't have it as much. I would say if five is being like the highest in Sudan, we have it like one.
Right.
Yeah, most of the war in Sudan is about politics, really.
Right. Okay. So it's at a government level, like just about.
Yeah, and stuff like that. There's no like drugs. There's no like kidnapping or stuff like that. Obviously, every country has like some kidnapping and just
Yeah.
normal.
But compared to like the worst kind of African,
Yeah,
it's not,
African countries. Yeah.
it's not near that level. It's not.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like you can walk in Sudan at midnight, by yourself and with no weapon, or you don't have to have a
It
weapon.
is. You
It
can't. There's some places in well, a good few places in England where you can't do that. So and
exactly.
so it was a safe place. You're told
Yeah,
that it's kind of free of violence or anything like that.
yeah. I mean, I remember when we used to be like 14 and 15. I never had like let's say a Sky to watch football in the house. There's like a club. We go to the club. The club is about like 15-minute walk. For example, like if Arsenal playing or maybe Barcelona or any Champions League, we go watch the game. Sometimes it's because the time different. If the match here is about let's say 9 or 8, it's like about midnight in Sudan. We used to be a kid and go to the club and watch the game, and then you come home until like after midnight, and we just walking home with our friend. We all used to be young,
Mm.
literally safe, nothing, So if, maybe even here in England, you can't. When you're 14, you can't walk home by yourself when after midnight. You know what I mean? It's scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that when we were younger in Sudan. That's like how safe it was. So
Well, I think when like 'cause you're 26 years old. Yeah. So I think even in England, I think it's changed. Like for people that are 26 years old, I think they probably did that here as well when they were 15 and whatever. But I think in the last 10 years, there's been a big shift in kind of mentality of the parents and stuff like that. Um, so I think it's changed here as well. Like I used to be allowed to play out and stuff when I was younger, but I think I was the last of that kind of generation that are allowed to
yeah,
kind of go out and
yeah, play football and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
football I haven't reached it as international level, and I wish if I could. And
And
only in athletics.
you seem very certain in how good you were at your football. I think you played left wing, was it? You were a winger.
Yeah, I played as a winger. I was very certain with it. I think the the only thing that made me to go away from football because I knew that I had a talent and I wanted to make it as a professional, but I just didn't find the right person or people to be around me to support me through it and help me, because football is completely different even in this country. So you need the right people to support you in your career to make it. And it's like it's almost impossible in Sudan. So football in Sudan is more about who you know. You know, you can play, you can be as good as Messi, maybe who you know, you might not. The likelihood not making it is big. So
Yeah. I mean, I can't agree with you because if you look at like, has there ever been a Sudanese Premier League player? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
not, not in the Premier League history. But at the moment we got a lot of play in the Championship.
Have you?
So yeah, not a lot of play. They play in the Championship, so they are Sudanese,
Isn't
and
that-
yeah,
like, with the talent pool that's in Sudan, or what you're saying, clearly there's like a problem with transferring that to, like, the talent's there, but the avenue to getting that talent seen and recognised is not there. I think that's a problem with the football in Sudan.
yeah, massively. I would definitely say the government not paying attention to sports in general. You know, I mean, the government not really doing much. I mean, in Sudan now, if I had a choice, or even in Sudan, to play as a professional footballer in Sudan, or professional athlete, I'd probably say professional football. Even if you play football in the Sudanese league, financially you'll be stable, if you know what I mean.
Mm,
Of course, the payment is not like you play for the Premier League. Of course, the Premier League is the best league in the world, or you play in any league in Europe. But if you play in the Sudanese league, it's still like you get better payment or better salary. So yeah, I mean, again, if you want to make it to that, even to the Sudanese league, again, who you know, that's other thing. And then to play for the national team, it could be easier, but the government again not really introducing the sport into the country like that. I mean, in Sudan, we never had let's say like PE lessons. We don't have PE in Sudan. We do have a sport day. Yeah, we don't have like a PE as a lesson as here. So
yeah.
yeah, we have like a sport day. Maybe once a month, there's like a sport day. The whole school they
Why,
can like do.
why not? Is it just because it's hard enough to provide the education for things like maths and English and stuff like that?
Okay, Sudan is always like for the past, I would say 35 years, that's before I was born, it's been led by the military. So it's never been led by democratic people. I mean, as we know that the country that has been led by the military, they be focused more about military stuff. So when you have a democratic, then that's obviously involved education and involved sport into it, involved all these things, and involved like freedom and all this. But when it's a military, basically they like to control everything.
Yeah.
So that's it always been the issue. Like we had our former president, well, the ex-president. He used to be a president for 31 years. That's before I was born. He was a president. So and then
What was
yeah, huh?
what was his name?
His name is Omar Al Bashir.
You had a similar situation with Mugabe, didn't you? In
Yes. Yes, the same similar as Mugabe in Zimbabwe.
yeah,
So yeah, he's been there for 31, 32 years. And then yeah, until like 2018, was it? 2019.
never good,
Yeah,
is it? That's not never good, is it, to have someone in a
yeah.
position for that long? It's not
I
good.
mean, the people in our generation, my age, back home in Sudan, and then with the support of people outside the country, people had more education, and then they decide, okay, we need a big revolution in the country. People went out in the street and they said, they asked the president to step down because the country is going downhill. No good education, no, no services, no jobs, no opportunities for young people. So the future of the country is pretty much is being destroyed, really.
Yeah,
And then the public decided to go out in the street, and it was massive. It was massive, like revolution. If you saw on the social media, it was like the whole social media changing the profile into the blue. If you remember, that was 2019.
yeah, into the blue. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that was the revolution for Sudan, sport in Sudan, because the government had to cut all the networking, internet, and everything for the world to know what's going on in Sudan, because it was big. So
Yeah.
everybody wanted the whole country, women's, men's, kids, adults. They went out in the street. They just asked the president to step down, and which is they did. It was a big victory for the country. I mean, now the people are they leading the country. I mean, because they basically starting from zero. I mean, you can't change a country between day and night. So
So there's been a change from like military leadership to more democratic leadership now? Is that what?
yeah, for now, I mean, for now it's like because it was temporary for 6 months. Just they want the country to be in a stable and peaceful position in order to have like election.
Yeah.
It's split into two teams, six from the military leaders and six from the democratic leaders chosen by the public.
Right. So,
So
yeah. So that's more kind of coming into like on a world scale. That's kind of how a democratic nation should kind of act, isn't it? So separating the military from the politicians and
exactly, yeah. So that's what the generation asked for and the public asked for. I mean, and the election is supposed to happen last year, 2020, and then COVID obviously happened.
yeah.
So and then they extend the date. So hopefully, I'm hoping 2021 is gonna be. I mean, maybe in the same American system. They will elect the president. It has to be a democratic, and then everybody has a circuit of 4 years, and then every 4 years will be election in the country, a new president.
And just talking about football again, just to touch on it quickly. It seems quite sad because the way that you talk about like your country, Sudan, and it just seems like there's a real passion for football there.
Very, very big. Me, I mean, I'm I'm one of the best athletes in the country. So if somebody play in the Sudanese league, he'd be more famous than me, well known in the country than myself.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's how big his football is.
which is it's a shame really because you see it in like Brazil, England, obviously like France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. But in them countries, like football is probably as big as it is in Sudan,
Yeah.
but there's more kind of money going into academies and getting the players just from grassroots level to to actually make a career out of it and get to like a world level. Like what's the problem there with getting these talented like Sudanese footballers to the top level? Because clearly there's enough of them and there's enough like passion there and talent. So what is that problem? Is it money or?
Definitely, I would say yes, financial money. I mean, not every team that play in the Sudanese league has an academy, and and even the big teams that with a bit of money, let's say the richest club in Sudan, they do have an academy, but they don't really rely on them.
Mm,
If you, I mean, so the academy is kind of like they have the B team, but most of the academy you play, and then you really again you have to pay for your own bus to get there to the academy. You have to pay for your own footballs, like stuff, boots, and etc. And it could be good, and then if you know someone that has a good relationship with one of the the sport directors in a club or one of the agents, and then they can really help you to sign you directly, give you a professional contract. But it's very rare really to have let's say a player play for under 12 in Man City Academy and then made it to through the ranking to under 16, under 15, and then he made it to the big team. Very, very rare in Sudan you see that. So that means like the investment of the money is not going to the academy, it's mainly going to the main league really.
do you think that is it? Do you think there's a level of like corruption there that people are taking?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, um, it's just It's sad really to say this because I come from a country there's a lot of corruption when it comes to leaders. Really, that's as real I can be. You have a leader in the country. You're supposed to lead the people the right way. You're supposed to be, you know, a good example as a leader. But just unfortunately, whoever become a leader in terms of let's say in a sport or maybe in a government or in a country, they more think of themselves really, to be honest.
That is sad, and hopefully, like that can change now going forward. You're talking about the kind of shift in taking
Yeah,
power away from the military and stuff. So hopefully that will change because it is a shame that there's so much talent that seems to be just getting washed under. And have you had friends back home that you grew up with that had talent, and you've seen them not like? 'Cause obviously you've made the journey from Sudan to England in the pursuit of your dreams, and you get in there. Do you know what I mean? You're targeting the Tokyo Olympics. Have you got friends back home that their talents have kind of gone to waste?
sadly, a lot of them, very sadly. I know when it comes to athletics, I know some guys. I used to know them personally. We used to train together. They're probably more talented than me, and they have the talent. They can be a world class athlete. I know that, and they now just completely stopped because they just didn't get the support. I would say very simple. Let's say maybe training kit. They can't afford buy training kit. They don't have even the stuff to do that. Training kit, and they walk away from the sport.
It's sad. It's sad on their part mostly, but it's also sad for the sport in a whole because it's only going to improve it if you get them guys recognition. If they get to the stage where they're competing against other people, it's going to make the whole sport better, isn't it? So it's a bit of a
Yeah, definitely.
phase.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they just like I said, the country is being led by the military. You trying to make it through sport, you don't want to work for the military because you have a passion for sport, you have a dream, and then when you don't get the support, like I said, a simple stuff like let's say trainers, training kit, you just feel like you can't even afford buying them because you're a student yourself and you're young and you don't have a job, and then you just give up, you walk away from the sport, and then you just go and join the military because obviously you need a job.
If you're saying the military, I know it's changed now in the last few years, but in the years gone by, the military have kind of been in charge of the whole country. Do you think that's a tactic on their part that they don't want to let the best, like the best, like athletes in Sudan? Um, they're obviously going to do well for the army, aren't they? If they join the army, they're going to probably be the best soldiers. So, do you think it's a conscious tactic that they're kind of refusing the funds in that way so that
I
they don't?
mean, if I'm being really honest, I don't know, but again, I would go back to the point when I said whoever become a leader, they think from themselves because whatever funding, instead of give it to the young athletes or young academy or to support them, they just do business, make business of it. Really, they use it for their own businesses.
Yeah,
So, I mean, 90% of the big company in Sudan, like is owned by one of the generals. It might be like a general in the military or in the police or leading the police. They got everything pretty much in the country. So
yeah.
it's very rare to find a person who's non police or government or part of the military has a big company or businesses in Sudan.
That's very corrupt.
Yeah, it's very rare. Like, most of the companies, this like belong to the government.
Yeah.
So